Hello, hello, viewers. Just waiting for some viewers. Just checking whether we're online. If anyone can see us, if you can leave a comment saying that you can see us online, that would be very helpful, and we can start the show. I think we are. If someone can give a message saying that they can see us online, that would be really good. But otherwise, I'm checking also. Yes, I can see myself online. So I will start the show. So Indian classical music is an acquired taste. For anyone to have appreciation for it, one would need to have exposure to it, which is why Surbandhan started the Raaga Festival in 2017. And this year, the Raaga Festival has incorporated a Gharana festival and also a Maestros of Bengal festival. In the Maestros of Bengal festival, we explore maestros who have added to Bangla music with the incorporation of Indian classical music. And the Gharana Festival, we look at history of Indian classical music, Khyal Gharanas and other Gharanas, as well as we have introduced Drupad as well. And this festival has been going on for 2.5 months, and it's coming to its end, but we will be back with another Raaga Gharana festival very soon. Now, this music, it's in the UK, as I was saying, it needs exposure because one cannot go outside and typically listen to Indian classical music or any Indian or Bangla music playing in the streets, like in the subcontinent, for instance. I'm Pia Mining. I'm a solicitor of England and Wales by profession, and I'm passionate about music. We at Surbandhan are passionate about music, especially Indian classical music, and we will continue to bring you these shows. Today we have a very interesting session. It is our first interactive live session, really. And today we are looking at the Benaras Tabla Gharana. We have for you an extremely regarded Pandit Sanju Sahai, which I will introduce to you in a minute. So as we know that there are 6 existing Tabla Gharanas, and they are Delhi, Ajara, Lucknow, Benares, Farrukhabad, and Punjab. So the Benaras Gharana developed a little over 200 years ago by Pandit Ram Sahai ji and is associated with the holy land of Benares or Kashi. The legendary Pandit Ram Sahai ji, from the age of 9, he took talim from Modhu Khan, Ustad Modhu Khan of the Lucknow Gharana, the grandson of Siddhar Khan, a musician in the royal courts of Nawab Asafuddaula in Lucknow. So our guest, Pandit Sanju Sahai, is from the direct lineage of Pandit Ram Sahai ji, and this is how. Pandit Ram Sahai ji's disciples were his 3 brothers. So that was Janki Sahai ji, Ishwari Sahai ji, and Gauri Sahai ji, his brothers, and also his son, Pandit Bhairav Sahai ji. Now, Pandit Bhairav Sahai ji had 3 sons who were Lakshmi Sahai ji and Durga Sahai ji and Bhagwati Sahai ji. And Bhagwati Sahai ji is Sanju ji's grandparent or grandfather. And in fact, Pandit Bhagwati Sahai ji had 2 sons, Ram Shankar Sahai ji and Pandit Shraddha Sahai ji. Now, Pandit Shraddha Sahai ji, Sanju ji's father, passed away in 2011 and began learning at an early age also from his father, and then became the disciple of the inimitable Pandit Kanti Maharaj, who was a disciple of Shraddha Sahaji's grandfather, Pandit Baldev Sahaji. Pandit Shraddha Sahaji's reputation as a tabla virtuoso in India and in the West is unmatched. Many of the younger generations of tabla players and even some older players from within the Benares Gharana and from outside look to Shraddha Sahaji's playing as the authoritative model of Benares style, a style which many tabla players attempt to emulate and incorporate into their own repertoires. Pandit Sanju Sahai ji, our guest, also known as Vishnu Sahai ji, is the son and disciple of the legendary Pandit Shraddha Sahai ji. Sanju ji informs us that it was not his choice to become a tabla player. In fact, he was informed that he had the job of carrying on this legacy at a very small age, and it was his responsibility to carry it forth. Now, he is indeed one of the finest, most sought after tabla players from his generation. He's from the sixth generation of Benares direct lineage of tabla players. Beginning as a child prodigy, he gave his first tabla solo at a major festival in Benares at the tender age of 9. He gained his Bachelor of Music at 13 and Master of Music at 18. Sanjuji is a truly phenomenal and outstanding tabla player, well known for mesmerizing and captivating his audiences with his power, virtuosity, and complete spontaneity. He has collaborated with different genres such as jazz, Egyptian, flamenco, opera, Western classical, hip hop, folk, blues music, and the world of contemporary music and dance. Sanjiji is imaginative and a sensitive musician, embracing an elegant and poignant style of his own. An international artist performing in various countries all over the world. He has accompanied many of India's legendary musicians and dancers. I'll just name a few of them. Pandit Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, Pandit Bhajan Sapori, Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahib, Ustad Imrat Khan Sahib, Ustad Shahid Parviz, Ustad Pandit Kartik Kumar, Pandit Manilal Nag, Pandit Vishwa Mohan Bhatt, Pandit Birju Maharaj, Natraj Gopi Krishna and Srimati Sitara Devi, Ustad Ashish Khan, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan, Pandit Jasraj, Srimati Girija Devi, Pandits Rajan and Sajan Misro, Pandit Ajay Chakrabarti, and Srimati Veena Sahasrabuddhe. Ustad Sultan Khan, Pandit Ramesh Misro, and Kala Ramnath and Maestro Omyalpuram Shivraman. Do excuse me if I've got that name wrong. But these are just only a few of the artists that he has accompanied. He continues to collaborate with various international artists from around the globe, such as Manuela Carrasco, Michael Neiman, Patricia Rosario, BBC Philharmonic, Naresh Sohal, Pete Lockett, Yair Dalal, Jason Carter, Matthew Barley, Anup Bishas, Don Lee, Harp Quartet, Dominique Vallard, Gilles Petit, and the acclaimed dancer Akram Khan. He's performed at many prestigious venues, including the Carnegie Hall in New York and the Sydney Opera House in Australia and the Sharova Theatre in Jerusalem, the Siri Forte in Delhi and Novel Hall, Taipei, and so much more, including the Royal Festival Hall here in the UK and the Royal Albert Hall, the House of Commons, Westminster Abbey, and the Philharmonic Hall. And also his recent projects have been collaborations with BBC Proms, Sangeeta Yatra, the Raaga Tala, Bach to Benares, and so many more that I could list. But what I wanted to say was that we are truly, truly honored to have Sanju Sahai ji on our platform today. And we have also, Sanju Sahai ji also has taught at SOAS and continues to teach at SOAS, has done so for 15 years. And he was also a percussion conductor of the unique South Asian music orchestra. I'm fascinated by all this, so I wanted to share it with you. On my panel today, we're going to talk with Pandit Sanju Sahai and listen to more about the Benaras Gharana and his forefathers. And with me on my panel, I have two other very special guests. One is Viram Jasani ji. He is the chairman of Asian Music Circuit, and I'm so anyone in the music industry would know him, and I'm very, very honored to have him here. And also Himat Gami, who is a student of Pandit Sanju Sahai, and he's been a student of 10 years. I nearly said Pandit. Anyway, of 10 years or more. And I welcome you both for coming to this on Surbandhan's platform, and I welcome Pandit Sanju Sahai ji again. And with that, we can start. I'll start with one question and I'll take it to the rest of my panel, and we can start talking to Sanju Sahai ji. My first question to you, Sanju Sahai ji, is that we were joking only yesterday. I think I asked you, when did you know that you had to when did you know that you had to do tabla, because you said you didn't have a choice. When did you find out? And you joked that it was before you were born. So jokes apart, my question is to you, when did you find out? How did you take your responsibility? Were you a good, it's a questions and you can answer them at your pace. And, were you always a good student? And is there any time you got fed up of this responsibility, because you said you didn't have a choice? Sanju Sahai ji.
Well, first of all, my pranam, my adab, sat shri akal, and hello to everybody who's joining in today. Thank you to Viramji and Himmat and yourself for putting this on, and thank you to Surbandhan for having me come on live and share a little bit of my life. And my life is dedicated to Benaras Gharana of Tabla. I was lucky to have been born in this family of Tabla, and when I said, it was decided before I was born that I would be tabla player, I wasn't joking. And they were in my family. They were waiting, because I have two older sisters. They were waiting for a son so they could start teaching him to play tabla. I suppose anybody who's born into such families, your responsibilities kind of start from the minute you're born, or before, as I said. And of course, when you're very young, you don't realize those things, but you're constantly reminded. You look up to your Guruji, you look up to all your senior Guru Bhais, wonderful artists, all the concerts we attended. I was born in a city called Benares. In those days, there were at least 2 or 3 concerts a week sometimes. And I'm talking about all-night concerts. If you wanted to hear Pandit Ravishankarji play 6 hours of sitar, you had to be in Benares. Ustad Vilad Khan Sahab, I attended many of these concerts growing up in India, where he played for 4 hours, over 4 hours or something. And then said, okay, now, yeah. Can you hear me okay? It's okay?
Yes, we can. Absolutely loud and clear. The
Okay.
sound is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay. Okay. So, as I was saying, I remember this concert where when Vilayat Khan Sahab decided to end the concert 4 a.m., the audience started shouting, like, Khan Sahab, this is no time to finish the concert. Even the tea stalls are not open. There are no rickshaw wallahs to take us home. So play some Bhairavi for a little bit more. And then he played another 2 hours just to kind of end the concert. So that kind of experience I grew up with. And then living in the West, of course, it's very, very different. Concerts do happen, but at a very different environment and in a very formal setting. So I guess we can't expect India to be in England, or we can't expect England to be in India. And we have a saying like, Jaisa desh, waisa bhesh. If you're expected to play 1.5 hours, you're allowed to play 1.5 hours. If you play 2 hours, the same people who actually bought the tickets to listen to you are happy to complain. It's like, this is too much. This is going on for too long. How am I going to get back? It's a working day tomorrow. So I guess those are the differences or similarities, whichever way you look at it. I am lucky that I have experienced both parts of the world. I keep going back to learn more, to keep connected to the roots. And over here, I live both the lives. Here we are using English as a language to communicate. So I suppose I will be speaking to you in Hindi in a minute, actually, because there are some things which are impossible for me to say in English. So I must have started when I was 4 and haven't looked back. And if I was, one of the questions you asked me if I ever got fed up. I never got fed up because my role models, my inspiration were so strong that I never ever got fed up. I got fed up when I didn't have enough energy to carry on. I mean, there was a time I practiced 12 hours a day. I moved out of my Papaji's home. But the bar was set so high. My Guruji used to practice 16 hours a day, which I haven't been able to achieve. So I never got fed up. I have a lot more to do, a lot to learn. The tabla world is huge. Every wonderful tabla player I hear, I have something to learn from them. So yeah, it's life. It's a lifetime of work. It's not. I'm still learning. I'm a student of music and tabla.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Piaji.
Right. Actually, I thought I had unmuted myself. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring in our guest now, Viramji. And I'd want to know, Viramji, I mean, how is it that Viramji and Sanju Sahai ji, how do you know each other? Perhaps Viramji can tell us about that, and we'll come back to you, Sanju ji.
You're on mute, Viramji.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it could well have been in another life. Maybe I was the tabla player and you were the sitar player, Sanju. But, well, I mean, I've lived in this country since 1949 and seen everybody coming and going and seeing how Indian music developed here and got established. And so when Sanju came over, I knew him since the day he came over. So we've known each other for many, many years. I won't try to tell you how many years that'll be telling. But it's been a long time. And I've been lucky in a way to have seen Sanju develop as a tabla player and as a person. And in fact, one of the things that I'm always interested in is how people in this country learn our music and practice it. And Sanju is a shining example of somebody who's lived virtually all his life here and become such a professional, high quality, high standard, by any measure, tabla player. He's highly respected in India. I don't know any tabla players living in this country who command any respect in India, or for that matter, any sitar players, me included. But it's a difficult thing to do, to live in this country away from your natural environment. I can imagine musicians get inspired by walking down the street in Benares, the smell of cooking, the smell of food, the smell of agarbatti, the smell of bhang, pan and all that, and the Ganges and so on. All of that is part of your psyche, and that goes into your music. It's the inspiration behind it. Absolutely. So I think I've known Sanju for a long time. It's remarkable what he's achieved.
Viramji, thank you so much. I actually omitted by mistake your sitar playing, but I know everyone knows about it. I was a bit wary that my introduction was too long and people were waiting for the main man. So I sort of skipped that part. But yes, I mean, did you play together at any time?
Yes, I think we played. I think poor old Sanju was put through a little bit of misery by playing with me, but I haven't played sitar now for 10, 12 years. I gave it up. And by the way, just one correction. I'm no longer the chairman of the Asian Music Circuit. That I left it and I've retired actually about 4 years ago.
Oh, I see. Well, it still says that on the website, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I know. Somebody else is running it, so they're very kind and still keep it up there. But however, yeah, I've had the pleasure of playing with Sanju.
Yeah, I think the first time we played together was probably 86.
Yes.
First time when we sort of informally played was 86. I remember.
Is that in Dartington?
That was at Dartington. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I remember because I've always had interest in cars as well. So I remember your blue BMW from those days, and I was asking you millions of questions about your car, not sitar at that time so much.
Yeah.
Sadly, but this is what I wanted to say, that if it's like the buildings, if your foundation is solid, then you can build as high. If your foundation is dodgy, then you don't have a building. It doesn't matter what style of building, doesn't matter how fancy a building is. So I was very lucky that I was born into such family, and I spent 17 years of my life growing up in Benares before I moved to UK. So now I've been here more than half my life and never let go of my foundation. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me rooted. That's what makes me build a better life musically. That's what makes me carry on teaching, carry on with my parampara, my tradition, because it started, as I was saying, from the minute I was born. I was so lucky that, I was given the other name, Vishnu Sahai, by Pandit Kanthe Maharaj, one of the most legendary figure in tabla world. And while I could meet Pandit Shamta Prasadji twice a week, just walking through the lanes, going to Mandir, I was able to have darshan of Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji and Pandit Hanuman Prasad Mishra ji, my Nana ji. everybody living in the same area. So there's an area called Kabir Chora, where most of the musicians reside there. So when you say, was it difficult? No, it wasn't even difficult to be deciding whether I should play tabla. I mean, I went through a stage when I was listening more singing to more singing. My Guruji was a bit worried because I was listening to vocal all the time. But what I didn't tell him, that I used to listen to tabla quietly at night. So when he walked past my room, he could hear Ustad Amir Khan Sahab on my tape. And I could listen to his marwa. I couldn't sleep until I heard him. I mean, I mentioned his name. Today is his birthday. I think Ustad Amir Khan Sahab, he passed away today in 74. So I was very young. But those were the inspirations, and still are. So over the years, please go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
You can carry on. I thought you'd come to the end of that one, but do carry on.
No, Viramji was saying something else. I've forgotten your question.
I didn't have a question, Sanju, but it's
yes, you were saying so many things.
No, do carry on. We have the same inspiration, Amir Khan.
Yes.
I'm a bit weary about Himmat sitting there. Shall I bring Himmat in? Himmat, it's so nice to have you on here. Himmat is a student, as I said, of Pandit Sanju Sahai. And do you have any questions for Pandit Sanju Sahai?
I do. Thank you for having me on. Namaste to you all. Just expanding on what Viramji was kind of reflecting on about the mahal and the ambience of Benares and growing up in such an environment, and how such an environment can just embed itself within you and express through your music. And Guruji, you spent 35 years plus away from that environment. And I was fortunate enough a few years ago to spend a week or two with you in your natural environment of Benares. And in the 45-degree heat, I remember myself and a few other gurubhais and members of Kashiyats, we sat there basically watching you practice for 10 hours. And it was a complete and utter, it was unbelievable. And, my question to you is, here in the UK, which is so far removed from the ancient lands of India, how you maintain that level of zeal for your instrument and how you remain inspired, and actually more specifically, what is your central inspiration to keep you going?
Welcome on board. I mean, you've been to India a few times with me. You've been to various other countries and attended concerts, and it's people like you who also give me himmat. So I'm inspired from you, because when I met Himmat, he was a rock star. He was playing in a rock band. And I still have the message he sent me. Dear Sanju, I'm interested to learn tabla. And are you taking on students? And then it just so happened that he saw some people touching my feet when we did the Shraddhanjali to my Guruji when he passed away. And Himmat also followed. He touched my feet. And I was a little surprised, because till that point he was shaking hands, and I was pretty easy about it. I don't have a problem with that. But then he started touching my feet several times in the same evening. So at one point I had to turn around and say, look, you've already done that. You've done it a few times now. It's not like, every time you meet me, you have to touch my feet. He said, I don't know, I just like it now, So it was really interesting to actually experience that change, that attending one such concert where everybody present has so much love for somebody he didn't even meet. And his journey actually started from that point. Then he became interested. He wanted to know not me, but my Guruji. And that's my source of energy. That is my source. That's my path. He has already set the path. And not just him. We go back to 1780, to Pandit Ram Sahai ji, to Benaras Sahai ji, to Baldev Sahai ji, to Bhagwati Sahai ji, Lakshmi Sahai ji, Durga Sahai ji. We're not fortunate enough to have all the recordings or photos of such great geniuses who were born in my family and took tabla to different heights, because it just hasn't been possible. But I keep on looking up. I don't need to look ahead. I have to just keep looking back. And that's what keeps me going. If I can achieve 5% of what my Guruji has done in this lifetime, I would be very happy. So my goals are very, very, very clear. My tasks, very clear. And my destination too, because I just keep on looking up. I see it. And I'm not getting closer to it. The more I play tabla, the more I realize how far away I am from him and from this wonderful work which is sort of been done by my family. Not only my family. When I say Benaras Tabla, there's amazing lineage, amazing set of tabla maestros. I mean, I can sit here and name them all from the past to present. But in present, when I say Benaras Gharana, I do mean Pandit Kumar Bose ji, Pandit Puran Maharaj ji, Arvind Kumar Azad, Shubh Maharaj, Vinit Pyaz, from Kishore Mishra ji to Dinanath Mishra ji. I mean, the list goes on. I can sit here and tell you that these are all amazing tabla maestros. Sukhvinder Singh ji, many, many, many tabla maestros. What makes me or my life a little bit different is because I was born into the family of Pandit Ram Sahai ji, where the responsibility becomes a little bit more serious. I am not allowed to change that at any point. If I want to sit and play on the street, nobody is going to say nothing to me or referring to me. They straight away link it up to 1780. Oh, देखिए राम साहब जी के घर का है, बेचारा रास्ते में बजा रहा है. So as long as I said, I have to just keep looking back, not look ahead. My goals are set for hundreds of years. I just need to follow that. So that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me wanting to practice more and more. And to be honest, I keep saying this, that I need to go away. I need somebody to pay my mortgage for 2 years. I also want to go in the jungle and practice, where I can just play tabla. Because there's so many millions of compositions which I just can't even touch. I don't have enough time to even sort of manage it. So knowing 500 fard or gut is no good. I can only play 5, whereas I want to play more. And they require a lot of time to practice, prepare, get it to the level when you can present it. It's like knowing, so many dishes you can cook. But when you have the guests, you can only cook 3. So that's the situation where I feel I am in. I have so much more work to be done. And I have so much work which I need to do. And keep looking up to my inspirations of Benaras Tabla Gharana, all the legendary maestros who I was very, very, very privileged to sit in their feet and they were not just teaching me tabla composition. Like this morning, I was talking to Pandit Birju Maharaj ji, my Chachaji, the Kathak dance legend. And the first thing he said, I praised my niece was performing in Kolkata. I said it was wonderful to see Deepak Bhaiya dancing and Ragini. And he said, yeah, thoda parampara mein dance kar rahi hai, acha kar rahi hai. Because that's what matters. It's the parampara. It's the tradition. If you can keep the tradition, if you do what your forefathers did, that's what they want to see. They're not stopping you not to be inspired. They're not stopping you not to be getting ideas from other people. I mean, just because Rakha Khan Sahab was from Punjab Gharana, I don't have less respect for him and more respect for Pandit Kishan Maharaj Ji. They're both equally godlike in my life. I am born in Benares. I am born into that family. So when I have to play it, I speak the same language. That's what I need to take forward. It's my responsibility directly. Hence, I have to stick to that. Otherwise, I practice and teach all gharanas, all the styles of tabla playing, not just Benares. It wouldn't be right. Yeah.
That leads me to another question. I just want to say that anybody, Viramji, Himat, anybody can come in with a question at any time. This just leads me to, now the question has been on my mind for a while now. When you're talking about Quran, I mean, my understanding, a bit like Himat, it's not automatic. I've had to learn and relearn, and I'm still learning. And so my understanding of Gharana is it started off with families, and this stylistic lineage that was created, that all started with the Khyal Gharanas, and when Amir Khusru brought in the Khyal, and then it was later developed in the 18th century. It was within families at first, and then it went to, the disciples started to come in from outside the family. And when I say, I mean, we had a little discussion earlier, and when I say that it's still existing today, I mean, you have lots of disciples who are following that that stylistic lineage. And, but what is your understanding of Gharana today? And why is Gharana the subject of so many disagreements? And if it doesn't exist today, if it's while it's subject to so much disagreements, I mean, I would say it's still existing. I mean, like, not in the original form, but obviously the effects of the Gharana is still going on, and creativity was at its peak at that time. I mean, that's my understanding. I could be wrong. Can we kindly have your take on that?
Sure. First of all, I know you've been reading lots, and you read a lot of things about Benaras Gharana Tabla family. There were some details which were not correct, and it's not your fault. It's what has been put out there. But I'd like to request people to kind of look at my website, look at direct descendants websites, people who are from such traditions and families, to get better idea of the lineage and so on. So first of all, Gharana, the word comes from Grih, Ghar, which means house or home in Hindi. Gharanas were created, but when you say the students are not keeping Gharana, they're playing the styles, which is the Baj. Okay, how you can identify Gharanas if you have more than 3 generations at least of playing or doing the same thing. That's what actually forms a Gharana. Otherwise, we will have 5 million Gharanas. So what I am doing is I am keeping that tradition, which is parampara, the parampara, which was started, which I am continuing to do. The Gharanas, I know that technically what is happening is any one tabla player is not sticking to a Gharana, because we have a YouTube, we have all the possibilities of hundreds of CD recordings and whatnot. So when you listen to each other so much, you are inspired, and before you know it, all that is becoming a bit of a mixture. So it's very difficult to say that any one person is only sticking to one gharana. I might be playing in my half an hour or 10 minutes of playing. I might just jump into, I don't know, inspiration taken from Ahmad Jan Tirkua Khan Sahab or Pandit Anokhe Lal Ji. 1 minute is Pandit Anokhe Lal Ji. Next minute I'd be, Amir Hussain Ji's. I can't. It's like what you're doing to your cooking these days. The more you watch YouTube, the more ideas you take, and you think, okay, I never thought of putting this particular spice. So this is exactly what is happening to our music. So people in my situation who belong to such gharana are continuing the parampara in order to kind of say, okay, this is Benares and this is not Benares, but I'm still teaching that. I'm still playing that. But when I'm asked to play 100% Benares, I can. But I have to have that source. I have got to have enough knowledge of any one gharana. Nowadays, if you don't belong to a gharana, you can take, 5 qaidas from one, 2 qaidas from another, rela from the other one, and then you put it all together and presenting it. It's not a bad thing, but this is what's going on. You're not sticking to only one kind of flower. That's what I'm trying to say. When you're making the bouquet, you're taking the ideas, you're taking different flowers to make a bouquet. It's also a good thing in the current situation. I'm not against it. I'm just trying to explain that this is what actually is happening musically too.
May I ask a question, Guruji?
Sure.
You of course are as well as a concert performer and a performing artist, you are a teacher and a Guruji to many people, both here, I think 20, 30 countries around the world, and a big base in India. I mean, your learnings were before the digital age, primarily, and you arguably learned from a period, or during a period, the golden age of our music. And Ustad Zakir Hussain Ji, he once said some years ago that the Guru's challenge now is not to impart knowledge to the student, but is to help clarify all the different bits of information that are available and try and help the student understand this mess of information. I mean, from your perspective, how has your teaching style been forced to change in the modern world? It'd be interesting to know that.
Well, when I receive an email asking to, accept somebody as a student, but their problem is, but I've learned Farrukhabad. And then you find out they've learned from some gentleman who happens to have had a Guruji, Ustadji from Farrukhabad. So you tell me, in 2 years, how does your life change? Just because your teacher is from Benaras Gharana for 2 years. Now, this art form I'm talking about takes a lifetime. So that's what I think Ustadji means when he says there's so much of this confusion, and we need to clarify to people that don't be confused. Know what you're playing. If you are playing Delhi Qaeda, must credit the Ustadji who made that Qaeda. And if you're playing Benares composition, do not forget to credit that person. If you're playing Farrukhabad Rela, please mention it. That's all it is. Yeah. So your knowledge expands. Don't see you. Okay, you come back. So that's what's going on at the moment. Mm. And our job is to help students understand that. Otherwise, what will happen? You put a barrier. You say, no, but you can't learn from me because I play Benares. Sangeet, music is supposed to bring people together. Unless you want to qualify, unless you choose any one particular gharana and you want to only master Benares Gharana, you don't have to limit yourself. Nobody is saying, please don't play a composition from Delhi Gharana. Play everybody's composition. But you should be focused enough to choose only one of those paths, depending on what one wants to do. So, I mean, I have people, in so many different countries, and they've learned. They're not all sort of starting to learn from me from scratch. We are making a do with this teaching. This art form is not really possible to learn this way. We're not doing justice enough. We're making most of it. This lockdown situation has taught us a lot of things. Life is literally online. And this is what is happening all over the world, in the West, outside India. When I see my student 4 times a year, how much can I teach him? There were times when months go past. My Guruji didn't sit with me with tabla. But my learning never stopped. I was learning constantly, all the time. The way he talks, the way he welcomes people, the way he's getting ready, the way he checks his tabla, everything. If I gave him a glass of water and it was too far filled, we get told off. If I clean the room, if I, sweep the floor, I get told off. Aise karte ho? Aise tirkit bajega. Do it properly. Then it will show in your playing. And there were days when he's just not saying anything. I'm just massaging his feet, learning. That is what is missing here. So when you learn that way, you stay tuned. You stay grounded. Because what you're learning, you can't put in words. That kind of learning you cannot put into words. It's far deeper. We don't have words. That experience, I cannot put into words.
If I may just ask one more, sorry to monopolize a little bit.
It's no problem.
So, I've been very lucky in that, I've seen you perform on the riverbanks of the Ganges, with Girja Devi ji, in front of 2,000 people. It was an amazing experience. And in the solo format, again, super, super fortunate. When we were filming, we saw you perform at 3 a.m. at the Sankat Mochan Temple Festival in Varanasi at 3 a.m. And I remember the feeling that one has sitting there as a member of the audience, listening to the way you perform and your reactions, and you're very comfortable on that stage. Comfortable in a way that's different to the comfort I've seen you at the Royal Albert Hall or the South Bank. And what would be interesting to know is, from your perspective as an artist, whether you're performing a tabla solo in Sankat Mochan or at the South Bank, how do you feel?
Well, one of the most difficult things is when somebody says 1.5 hours. And that I'm worried even before I've started playing, because I can play 4 hours without thinking about it. Because I am playing on all these people's energy, the blessings of all these wonderful audience, and you get to see all these learned people, and you just find yourself, agya hai, ijazat hai, agya hai, and you build on that energy. They are blessings. In Royal Albert Hall, or in Festival Hall, or even in smaller setup, in Purcell Room even, you see the first few rows of people. We don't get the same feedback from audience. We don't have the same interactions. In India, performing, they would even say, "Acha, ek baar fir se." Here, you're not supposed to cough, don't sneeze, and don't say "wah" for sure. So this music we play is based on interactions. I'm not interested in playing in Royal Albert Hall for my music to be best. I'm interested when somebody is sitting right and close to me and able to appreciate if I'm doing something good. I'm not relying on the wonderful sound system for my na to be as good, my tabla to be as good. You've seen me. There is no sound check in that situation. When I'm just go on the stage and whatever, it starts from being bad and it gets better if you're lucky, and if you're not, it doesn't. But your music level is far higher. You can't plan. It's like planning, you've been to India several times. It's like planning your journey. It's impossible. It's impossible. You cannot count the potholes. I mean, even it changes every day. The numbers increase all the time. So this is how we feel.
Sanjay, there's a very interesting question that came in, something that we were thinking about as well, from Amit Chaturvedi, and he says, Pranam Guruji. The question is, what is your take on Guru Shishya Parampara in today's perspective in India and abroad?
Oh, Guru Shishya, yes. What has changed over the years? I used to sort of tell people, and this was told to me also by great legendary musicians, that like Pandit Ram Sahai used to say, Pani piyo chan ke, a guru karo pehchan ke. So you must drink filter water and take your time looking for the guru. But now the main difference is you've got to look for the good shagird. Good Guruji mil jayenge, shishya nahi mil rahe hain. This is what has changed. So to teach this Guru Shishya Parampara, one has to start very early. And I mean early, from taking off your shoes to sitting down in front of your Guru. But it's difficult. I teach in every format here. I teach in university. I've been part of SOAS for 24 years now, actually. And I teach 4-year-old, and my oldest student is 75-year-old. I don't teach differently. Certain rules the same for both. You take your shoes off, you do your pranam, sit down. The lesson begins with the pranam. That's the first thing. The humility, humbleness, those things are taught first. Music comes later. Those things are so imbibed in our music that's what makes our music so special. It's not something you can just practice and go on the stage and you present it. It's not. That's not what our music is. You can practice a million hours and go on the stage and nothing will happen. So you need blessings. As long as you have blessings, and how do you get blessings? You have to become a vidyarthi. You have to become a student. When you bow down to somebody, what do they give you? Blessings. But if you're not bowing down enough, you're not getting any blessings. So a lot of these things are sort of changing, unfortunately, over the years. And we're struggling and working extremely hard in the West to hold on to them. In a lot of cases, it's impossible. It hasn't been even noticed that those are the things you have to do. And I'll go as far as saying that just by touching the feet of somebody because you're forced to, or you're asked to, or you have to, is not what I'm talking about. In one of the concerts a few years back, great tabla maestro Bikram Ghoshji, he called me over and he said, Sanju Bhai, is that your student? I said, no. Why do you ask? He said, it's just been a bit rude. I said, oh, sorry, what did he say? He said, no, it's not what he said. He just came around and put his arms around me. I said, no, I know who that is. He's a tabla player, but yeah, a very good tabla player. And then it just so happened, I had few students. I called over, it's like, hey, come over. And one of my students came over and touched his feet. I said, this is my student. Same thing happened when Ustad Zakir Hussain ji was in Queen Elizabeth Hall. I just happened to, there was a presentation of South Asian Music Youth Orchestra, which was run by Milaf Fest. And I was managing it at the time. And I went outside, I knew we were expecting him. Samir was presenting a small piece. So I see Ustad Zakir Hussain ji coming out of his car on his own. And he was carrying tabla. There's no way I'm going to let him carry his tabla. So I insisted that I carry it. I brought it. And again, there were some of my students, they lie in his feet. And he said, where'd you learn? He hadn't heard him play tabla. He wants to know where he learns. Where does he learn this? And I'll tell you, probably the best example, and there isn't anything beyond this. When I meet Zakir ji, he's old enough to be my uncle, but I call him Zakir Bhai. Same with Pandit Kumar Bose ji. They're both old enough to be my uncles. But I call them Bhai just so they don't feel old, because I don't want them to feel old. They don't want to feel old. When I try to touch his feet, he touches my feet. And we fight over this. Of course, I want to win, because this is my dharma, not his. His job is to just give me blessings. But every time I sneak, he bends down and he tries to touch my feet. This is Ustad Zakir Hussain ji we're talking about, the God of tabla. Whether I call him God or whether I don't call him God, people feel that towards him. For many reasons, not just for his tabla playing, the way he treats one another, the way he treats his elders and younger people. He doesn't care if you're just a student or you're a maestro. His love is there for you. And Pandit Anokhe Lal Mishra ji and various other musicians from this field, they are immortal because of their love for their gurus. I didn't get to see him. I saw his son, Pandit Ramji Mishra ji, extraordinary tabla player. When Pandit Anokhe Lal Mishra ji used to walk past my house in Benares, he used to take his shoes off and carry it in his hand because it was Guruji's house. He didn't want to be disrespectful. This is how this tradition. So now he's remembered by all because he has so much love and respect for his guru and his family and so on. And I heard recently somebody talk, and they're talking by themselves. So if you do the Guru Bhakti, if you're careful about those etiquette and required things, the world talks about you. And when you don't, then you have to go on and talk about yourself, for sure. So there are a lot of very closely knitted etiquette and behavior which is necessary in our music field. And that's what makes our music. I keep saying this because the way I'm talking with you, with all due respect, if there was Amjad Ali Khan Sahab sitting there, my behavior will change. I will have to be a little humble. I couldn't answer to my dad, my Guruji. Looking at him, I would also sort of mumble. If Guruji says, sit down, your job is to still stand up. Just because Guruji is saying sit down, so you sit on his head. That's what's happening now. And that's what is sad. That is what is said.
Sanjiji,
And yeah,
I beg your pardon. I'm a bit weary that the time is running by, and
yes.
so would it be possible at all to show us some of the innovations by Pandit Ram Sahai ji? And also, just before that, can you also answer this, that the work that Pandit Ram Sahai ji did and the work that your father, Pandit Shraddha Sahai ji did, is it possible then to bring anything else into this Gharana? Can you add to it at all? And then after that, perhaps you can demonstrate some of the innovations that Pandit Ram Sahai did to the Benares Gharana.
Okay, so I'll answer the latter part first.
Thank
As I said, there are still hundreds and hundreds of compositions which I haven't even started learning yet. There's so much work to be done. I may do things a little bit differently, but my sources is still my Guruji. Every time I think I've done something, then I think, hang on, but I was already taught this. This is why I'm thinking the way I am thinking. So that teaching, just like what we do to our kids, our children, you teach them and teach them and teach them. They don't understand half of it at that time. I mean, everything I was told 25 years ago now is beginning to make sense. It takes its time. So basically, I can play a little bit differently, but I don't think just by playing one more composition, all tabla players, all musicians create. You can write your own bandish. Does it become yours? It doesn't become yours just because you made one more bandish. The source is it still the same. Maybe I am just locating that. Maybe it's taken me this long to actually understand. It's coming to my mind. Maybe something was taught to me and I didn't quite understand. So, creator was already Pandit Ram Sahai ji. Within Benares, there are 5 styles of Benares technique alone. Amazing tabla maestros. Because Ram Sahai ji made 5 main disciples. If somebody was expert in one direction, he taught him like that. If somebody was composition expert, interest, taught him like that. And within Benares, we have so many styles. Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji's style, Pandit Kanthe Maharaj ji's style is different to Pandit Shamta Prasad ji's style, Rangnath Mishra ji's style, Pandit Anokhelal Mishra ji's style. Papa ji played differently. Everybody has, within Benares, we have so many. But you could feel still the flavor is there. The main ingredient is the same. Just because you choose to kind of swap your masala, the dish doesn't change. It's the same dish. One day you skip garam masala, still the same dish, because the main ingredients are the same. So, Pandit Ram Sahai ji did many compositions, many types of compositions, such as Uthan, Banarsi Theka, Fard, various kinds of guts, Fard, which is unique to Benares. In this short time, of course, I cannot, and my hands are frozen here. It's probably -1 or something. But since you've asked me to play a little bit, I think you got fed up of listening to my voice.
Not at
I'll
all.
play.
It's totally up to you. We can carry on listening to you. So much insight. Absolutely.
To listen to me play, you can go and listen to me play on YouTube. This conversation, it's learning about. Yeah, maybe I'll play a little bit later. If you have anything else to say, please do add.
Well, one question I can add, I don't know if Viramji wants to come in, but one question that I can add is that why is it then Benares was the last Tabla Gharana, and why is it there hasn't been another Gharana that's come out or since then? And why did Gharana cease to exist? If no new Gharanas are being created.
I don't know why there is no more Gharanas. Nobody is, asked not to make a Gharana. But as I said, what makes a Gharana is that you've got to have something new going on. It has to have its own identity. So all these Gharanas from Delhi, Ajrala, Farrukhabad, Punjab, Lucknow, and then Benares. When it came to Benares, it really, a lot of people say this, that it becomes Sampurn. Now, there is whatever you try to do now, it falls under one of those Gharanas. So we're still waiting to have something which doesn't fit into any of the 6 Gharanas. And it's been 250 years. So if it hasn't happened in 250 years, creation hasn't stopped. There are amazing tabla players out there. There are 3 million tabla players on the planet. A huge source of inspiration to me and a lot of people in my situation. But style is creating. They have certain way. It's like our own characteristics. How I make tea and how you make tea with the same ingredients varies. So that's what is happening. But we're not able to change the entire foundation. And that's why no Gharanas are being created. Tabla hasn't stopped being, creating. Tabla players are still creating. And they will. That's what is our music, actually. The minute you stop creating, it will all end. We're always creating. In fact, each generation of artists add their own input, their own ideas. But still, it's not enough to change and form a Gharana.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
I've got my own theory about why there are no new Gharanas, if there is such a question.
Yes.
And that is that things have changed in the whole of Indian music making world. We used to talk about the golden age of Indian music being during the 40s and 50s, and even before perhaps. But in this age of people rushing around madly, chasing after earning money, earning living, with egoism particularly on the rise, everybody wanting to become ustads without any kind of qualification.
Yeah.
The whole essence of Indian music is getting lost. The point is that music isn't a matter of competition. It's not a platform for competition. Everybody has got something to say and something different to say, and they use music to say it. And I was once on doing a program for BBC about Ravi Shankar, and the interviewer asked me, did I think that Ravi Shankar was the best sitar player in the world? And I said to him, no, he wasn't. He was one of the best. And there were many best sitar players, simply because, and Ravi Shankar entirely agreed with me on this, that music is a form, is a platform, it's a way to the divine. And as we say, there are many ways to the same divine, whether you play like Vilayat Khan, whether you play like Anokhi Lal, or whether you play like Pandit Ram Sahai. They all approach the same goal. They're all aiming for the same end. Absolutely. This idea of everybody competing with each other is the death of Indian music. And it's ended up lowering standards, especially in the UK, where people ignorantly try to compete with each other or say that they are better than somebody else. It isn't a question of being better than anybody.
Not at all. Not at all. No two artists should be compared. As you rightly said, it's our own journey and it's our own way to reach the divine.
And you'll be judged by that journey, how people look at that journey, not whether you're better than somebody else.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, recently I came across something which is quite upsetting, but since we are talking about the UK scene, and it brings me sadly to say this. I came across something someone shared on my Facebook page saying there are a group of people who are calling themselves Gurujis. Now, Gurujis are not made. You don't suddenly make somebody Guruji. You have to be student Ji first.
Yes.
Every great Guruji makes a good student. That's what we're taught. We're
Well,
still trying to be a good student. Sorry?
that's the rise of egoism.
Yeah, sadly it is. But that's also the end for many reasons or for many things. Because, you see, the day I start to think that I am the Benaras Gharana and Pandit Kumar Bosji is not, and so is not, that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
I look up to these people. As I explained earlier, my only responsibility is to keep my parampara going. I don't become more senior than these people because I look up to these wonderful artists, and I always have. And without sort of meaning to sound arrogant, I have played with a lot of big tabla maestros even. I get invited to India to play for tabla maestros, to get blessings. I don't have to sort of start thinking, oh my God, he's a great tabla maestro and he's inviting me to play. It's my chance. It's my khush kismat that I'm able to get some blessings. And there are a group of people here who are literally on a wrong path. You know, our teaching, and I mean our teaching, whether it's in my Gharana, whether it's in Punjab Gharana, whether it's in Farrukhabad or Ajrala or Lucknow, we're not taught to become Gurujis. You become Gurujis with your karma and dharma.
Yeah.
Your karma makes you Guruji. Not because you've got a title on your head and you've got 5 people shouting out, you Guruji, Guruji, Guruji. And you are Guruji to every kid you teach. To them you are Guruji. But don't use Guruji, the word Guruji, so randomly. I mean, Guru Purnima, the Guru celebration of Gurujis, is normally in July, and it all depends on the full moon. It's been celebrated in my family from the day tabla came into our lives. I didn't need to make a hoo-ha about it. But a few years back, it just so happened that we made a little video of Guru Purnima. Now, so many people are celebrating Guru Purnima. Arey bhai, you don't need to celebrate Guru Purnima to make you Guruji. It's like having a birthday. It's not. I'm talking to you here. The minute I sit near my tabla, it goes without saying, Guruji is there. How can I touch tabla without my Gurujis? उनका तो स्मरण होना ही होना है. And when he is there, how can I not do what he was trying to teach me? He didn't try to teach me to be Guruji. From age 7, he used to make me sit next to him on Guru Purnima day. And so everybody had to do his puja, and then they turn around and they had to do my puja. From age 7. In this field, you always have to become disciple, whether it's your dad as a guru, whether it's your chachaji, whether it's your chachiji, masiji, doesn't matter. Until you do the Ganda Bandhan ceremony, you're not learning this art form. So I also had to do that. But I would do my puja and then say, okay, here, come sit next to me now. And then everybody had to do puja. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know why he was doing that. But I never felt Guruji. And to this day, I don't feel Guruji. I'm just, in plain English, servant of this family. Not just because I'm born into this family, I should be walking around and saying to people, hey, you don't know, I'm Sanju Sahai, belong to this lineage, and you should just address me only as Pandit Sanju Sahai and Guruji.
With
That's not
respect,
what makes you Guruji.
no. If I can just come in, like, I mean, you know, the Gharanas, I mean, there are lots of negative things linked with that because of the history, because of the time. You know, things have changed. We have human rights laws, and you know, people and things like that. So there are some negative things that are linked with it, but we cannot not acknowledge the extraordinary musicians, the heads of Gharana. Not just, I mean, we're talking about Tabla Gharana, but there are instrumentals, there are Khayal Gharanas, and the heads of each Gharanas, you know, there was something spectacular. Otherwise, people would not be listening to their music now after 200 years or, you know, 50 years or 100 years. It would have died away. So we do have to give that respect. We do have to give
Or
that
it's,
respect.
I just like to say that it happens in royalties too. Just because you're wearing the pagadi doesn't make you the Guruji either. There comes a certain responsibility with it.
Yes.
You know, not just because somebody forcefully, you know, made me the head. My older brother, who I respect and touch his feet, my younger brother also, they all play tabla. And when I see them, my older ones, I do my pranam, and the younger one does pranam to me. Just because I have become I'm chosen to be the Guruji, I don't become Guruji of my older brother. He's still same for me. When I see him, I bow down to him. And there were times when we've exchanged, I've taught him things. I don't become his Guruji. This Adan Pradhan happens. This is how I have learned from my senior Guru Bhais. Growing up, my dad was not always at home. He's touring around, doing all kinds. And I had to become a student and teacher at the same time from a very young age. Because he would say, I'm doing something. Here, you take this class, and you teach him this, and you learn this. This is how it was. We learn from each other and maintain that respect all the time. All the time. It's difficult not to be inspired by something or someone who does a good deed. If somebody is playing amazing, how can I not be inspired? If I am at all connected to music, I don't sit there and think, oh my God, he doesn't belong to Benaras Gharana. He's from Furukabad Gharana or Raaga Gharana. If he's playing good, my job is to just bow down and respect, appreciate his tapasya, his work. Otherwise, I'm not a musician.
Well, I mean, yes, I mean, the creativity associated with you know, with Gharana, the lasting innovation that people are still wanting to learn now. I mean, that's what I was saying, and none of the negative things about it. We've actually, over time now, I don't know if so I don't know if you're up to answering any more questions. But, you know, we're more than welcome. Anything else?
We don't have to keep talking because we're okay to keep talking. We have to think about all our audiences around the world. It might be very late for some, might be very early for some. And I'm going to take this opportunity to thank Surbandhan, thank Viram Jasani ji, thank Himmat ji, and everybody who's watching and listening. And my sincere apologies if I have said something wrong. I speak my mind. We're taught from very early age how to be humble, how to be respectful, how to be honest. And that honesty is shown in your music. Your character. Doesn't matter how you put on an act, when you come to make music, your character comes through your music. So it's really, really important to stay alert, stay on the right path of your guru, and keep practicing. The reason we sort of say, oh, so and so, Anokhe Lalji is, legend, so and so is legend, because it's not one lifetime journey. His journey might have started before, and he just came to show us. My journey may even be just beginning. Maybe I need 7 lives to achieve what I need to achieve. So that learning doesn't stop. My koshish has to just keep going. Just keep going.
Thank you so much, Sanjuji, for such an wonderful. It's been so wonderful. The messages, I don't know if you've read them, but I've been putting them on.
I can't read them.
So many messages, and it was wonderful to listen to your experience and your wisdom. And there's many things I can take away from it, but one of the things that you said is that music is supposed to bring together people, and you said stay humble, and all of that will stay with us. Thank you very much also to Viramji. Thank you so much to Himmat Gami. It was you made it such a wonderful session, and we hope that we can have more like that. I want to also thank the whole audience. Thank you so much, and do check our Facebook page out and other pages out. Do like them if you want to be in touch with more programs like this. In fact, we have the final one in this Raaga festival in Ghana and Maestros Bengal, which is going to be next Saturday, and Jaimini Sahaiji will be doing some Kathak down there. So please like our page if you want those notifications. Once again, thank you very much, Pandit Sanju Sahai. It's been absolutely inspirational. Thank you.
Can I have a last word?
Yes, you may.
No, I wanted to stop you from beginning. Just Sanju Sahai is good enough for me. I was born with that name. And Pandits are my Guruji and maestros. I'm not Pandit. I'm just Sanju Sahai. Thank you,
Sanjuji, I
TLB.
just found you totally down to earth. I mean, I didn't know you. I'm not even learning from you, but I found you so down to earth and so encouraging. And
Do you know? Once Guru Nanak Ji was asked, "Why do you sit on the floor?" He said, "Just so I don't fall over." So you have to be on ground. This is what is necessary. Then you don't fall over. I'm not down to earth. I haven't left the earth. I'm here.
You have a message from Jaimini Sanju Sahaiji, who says that it would be great to hear a bit more insight from you, Sanjuji. So she wants to hear more. We really want to hear more as well, but obviously we have to call it a day somewhere.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today. And the conversation continues. It will continue.
Thank you. Thank you. And everyone everywhere, take care.
Thank you.
Stay well in this time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.